Hi, I'm reading from Katarina's Dark Journey. Labor pains, Ukraine, 1918. Then came the fires. 1918, February, Malachna Colony, Ukraine. The window rattled. Katarina bolted upright in bed. In a split second, she'd gone from a dead sleep to wide awake. Her heart thumped wildly, her forearms tingled, and her ears hurt, as if the air had just been sucked out of the room. She was certain the bed had moved. But that was impossible. It must have been a nightmare. Across the room, a thin band of morning light peeked between the gap of the navy floral curtains. It was almost time to get up, but since her heart was still racing, she snuggled back under the weighted wool comforter and buried her face in the pillow. A sharp crack on the roof preceded the rolling sound of a sheet of ice cascading down the side of the house. It crashed past Katerina's second-story window and shattered on the ground below. She groaned and pulled the duvet over her head. Seconds later, a loud boom blasted in the distance, and a series of cracking and popping sounds followed. Katerina flung back the pillows and sat up, snarling. Blasted hunters, shooting up the sky and waking up the world. What are they doing? Blowing up bridges? Scratching the sand from her blue eyes, she slipped out of the bed, wriggled into her sheepskin slippers, and retrieved her white velvet robe from its scrunched spot between the mattress and the hand-carved oaken footboard. Then she schlepped to the window and yanked open the heavy curtains, hoping to spot the offenders of the obtrusive wake-up call. But all she could see were the smoky white puffs dotting the pink horizon and clear blue skies hanging over the snow-covered sunflower fields. Yet Katerina sensed something was wrong. She tore apart her ash-blonde braid and went to the Delft basin to wash up and brush her hair. While finishing her ablutions and rebraiding her waist-length locks, another explosion shook the house and a slow tremor vibrated across the floor. This isn't good. Muttering to herself, she returned to the window to appraise the goings-on with a more critical eye. A hay wagon sat in its place under the sleeping apple tree, with the hand plow on its back, both buried in snow. The hedge of stately spruce trees lining the long, circular driveway sparkled majestically with the fresh white coating on their branches. Despite constraining the effects of the wintry winds, they obscured the northern skyline over the neighboring fields. Ugh, I can't see a thing, she groaned. She picked up her toothbrush and cup from the washstand and headed down the hall to the newly constructed toileting room, but immediately bumped into Kiva, the scullery maid, her arms laden with stuffed pillowcases. Katerina startled at the brazen red kerchief covering the servant's puffy brown hair. She was about to confront the servant on her inappropriate dress and asked about the pillowcase contents when Kiva said, "Best hurry, Anna's waiting," and breezed by without stopping or clarifying. Katerina stared open-mouthed as the maid disappeared down the hall and around the corner. She didn't even say good morning. How rude. Where's she going in such a hurry? Mumbling to herself, Katerina stomped down the hallway to the commode. She had discussed the disrespect with her sister Anna at breakfast. While in the middle of brushing her teeth, a fervent knocking accompanied Anna's impatient tone. Katerina. Katerina groaned and spit into the cup. Lately, her sister's urgent bathroom trips were a nuisance. As far as she was concerned, the baby couldn't arrive soon enough. 1 second. She straightened her robe and took a deep breath. Today's rough start could not ruin her day. Despite the angst of war hanging in the air and the rumors of soldiers pushing into the territory, she still had to maintain a cheerful decorum in the classroom. Only yesterday, she'd reminded her students that the grim situation wasn't in their control, but keeping them focused on their studies was challenging. Everyone was worried. War, guns, the noise. A chill passed through her. The hair on the back of her neck bristled and her toothbrush dropped to the floor. It can't be. Not here. Katerina, we need to move now. Anna's knock repeated. Good grief. 1 second, I said. Katerina picked up her toiletries and opened the door to a frazzled-looking Anna, fully dressed in winter garb and holding a large traveling bag. Her neatly trimmed blonde eyebrows furried together in a worried frown, her thin lips stretched tight in a straight line, and her pale face whiter than usual. What do you mean, leave now? Is the clock broken? According to the chimes, I still have an hour before school. Are you heading into town too? Katerina scanned her sister's bulky outfit. The center large button, clasping the old-fashioned sheepskin coat over Anna's swollen belly, threatened to tear away from the leather. You should really fix that button before you go anywhere. It's about to pop. Katarina pointed at the straining thread. Why aren't you wearing your wool coat? It fits so much better. This is the warmest thing I own, and why aren't you dressed yet? Anna snapped. Katarina bit her lip to keep from joking about the odd outfit. It puffed out in two V shapes above and below the feeble left fastening. The black skirts ballooned below the coat, draping the wooden floor like a dust mop, and the oversized white wool scarf wrapped around her neck and shoulders dwarfed Anna's pixie face. Only a few strands of her honey blonde hair poked out from beneath the white and red flowered kerchief tied under her chin. On top of the babushka, Anna wore her favorite black felt hat with the family's emblem of 3 white roses stitched on the wide brim, untied with the strings hanging over her ears. Although the clownish costume was completely out of character for her sister's usual fashion sense, Anna's serious expression explained it as intentional. Katarina held her tongue and only said, "You shouldn't wear white against your face, Anna. It makes you look ill." Anna's eyes flickered with annoyance and the muscles in her jaw flexed. "Katarina, stop playing around. We must leave now." "Why? What's the problem? And what's that noise?" Katarina asked as another boom blasted in the distance. "We're being bombed. Now hurry. Get dressed and pack your bags. We must leave now." Anna grabbed her by the arm. "Come." Bombs? The children spoke of soldiers heading this way. Katarina shivered. No, it can't be true. She dried her hands on her robe as Anna dragged her down the hall. "What do you mean? Bombed? By who?" "Bolshevik soldiers in this village. Didn't the servants wake you?" Anna scowled. "No." Katerina frowned. "I saw Kiva in the hallway, but she said nothing, and no one woke me up." Tis, Anna clucked as she shoved Katerina into her bedroom. "I can't believe this. I specifically told Kiva to wake you up. What is wrong with the servants these days? No one listens to me anymore." "Listen, there's no time to explain. Layer up your warmest clothes. Oleg is getting a sleigh ready. Get dressed and packed. Hurry." "I'm confused. Why do we have to leave? Is the estate in trouble? We have armed guards all around the perimeter." Katerina tucked a stray strand into place. "We're supposed to be well protected from invaders." "No, I told you." Anna snapped her fingers in the air. Schnell! Schnell! Hop to it! Meet us in the sleigh and throw a few extra clothes in a bag. And take all your valuables, especially your jewelry. We could be gone for a few days, or weeks even." Anna waddled to the hall, then turned around and said firmly, "This is not a game, Katerina. War has arrived. This is life and death. We must leave now." Katerina stood with her mouth agape as Anna disappeared down the stairs. Had war really arrived at their doorstep? But that was ridiculous. The peace talks were ongoing at Brest-Litovsk. The war was almost over. Why would the Red Army want to destroy the Mennonite villages now? They weren't anyone's enemies. Everyone knew the peaceful community didn't have the firepower to fight back, and that they wouldn't, even if they did. Yet Katerina knew that war had no logic. Power-hungry forces trapped ordinary people in their violent clashes. Those who didn't choose a side were assigned one. Amid the battle, neutral innocents became guilty opponents and were sentenced to death. And today she and Anna were 2 unremarkable women in such life-threatening circumstances. This was the real world, not a clipping from their cousin Rieger's weekly newspaper. And the gravity of the situation dawned on Katerina. Her eyes widened. This is war. They've come to kill us. Saying that out loud gave her the impetus she needed. She flew into action, ripped off her nightclothes, yanked the dresser drawers from the chest, and dumped the entire contents onto the floor. She quickly sorted through the pile for 2 sets of heavy woolen undergarments and threw them on the bed. Another rumble shook the house. She froze and waited for it to pass, then shivered when it did. The hair on the back of her neck bristled, and goosebumps rose on her arms. "Get dressed. Hurry." She snorted in ragged beats, urging herself on while tugging on the undergarments. Then she scratched her head while deciding on her traveling wardrobe. The frigid temperatures on the open steps demanded heavy woolen layers. She spun between the closet and the bed, then grabbed yesterday's skirt from the chair and another from the hanger. While slipping them on, her shaking hands refused to cooperate with tying and buttoning. She took a deep breath, screamed a loud grrr, and tried to refocus. Her head pounded and the blood whooshed loudly in her ears. A prickly sensation spread across her upper back and the fingers of her gimpy arm tingled. She argued with the pain and rubbed her hands. Focus, Katrina. Anna yelled from the bottom of the stairs, urging her to expedite. Katarina pulled a floral garment bag out of the closet and tossed it on the bed. Next, she grabbed a skirt, 2 winter tops, a sweater from the closet shelves, and the heavy black wool shawl off the hook on the wall, and crammed everything pell-mell into the bag. She tapped her fingers on her hips, analyzing the contents and justifying the disorder. Then she retrieved an extra set of garments, just in case. Katarina, it's time! Now! Anna's urgent shouts repeated. She picked up the bag, then remembered Anna's emphasis on jewelry and valuables, and returned to the dresser to retrieve the small wooden jewelry box. She opened the lid and toyed with the contents. A cameo brooch, her maternal grandmother's gold locket, pearl necklace from her Aunt Maria, and a few other items of lesser worth. Thieves would likely steal everything, regardless of value. So she dumped the entire contents directly into the garment bag and shook it to scatter the items to the bottom. She'd reorganize it later. Anna hollered again. Clutching her bag, Katarina ran down the hall and flew down the stairs. Good grief, Katarina, what took you so long? We are running for our lives. Anna pulled her towards the back door. Now pull on your boots and grab your coat. Oleg and Aliona are ready in the sleigh. Why is Oleg taking us? Who's going to oversee the guards and the servants while we're gone? We need his expertise with the Troika. It's the fastest thing we have, and he's the only one properly trained to drive the team, Anna snapped. We'll never outrun the army with a sleigh, Katarina scoffed. If David had bought one of those fancy automobiles before he left for the war, maybe we'd have a better chance. Anna pivoted on her heel and narrowed her eyes. How dare you insult my husband? And now of all days. Now get your ham bones into the sleigh before I have this baby and we all die. Anna turned and waddled out the door. Stunned by her sister's verbal slap, Katarina fell silent and retrieved her sheepskin coat and leather boots from the bedroom. A twinge of guilt flickered over the death of Anna and David's infant daughter, Margarita, last year. Although she doted on the baby for those brief 3 months, she hadn't been home when the child died. Their mother, Lena, blamed Katarina for being too wrapped up in her work to help Anna in her time of need. It wasn't true, of course. Margarita's sickness was no one's fault, but Katarina vowed to never abandon her sister or her sister's children again. Suddenly remembering her diary, she quickly retrieved it from the shelf beside the kitchen table and tossed it into a garment bag. Upon tying her winter boots, she applauded herself for replacing the leather soles and wool liners in a timely fashion before the weather became unbearably cold. She dashed outside, climbed up the sleigh, and threw her bag on the deck, then yelled at the middle-aged servant holding the reins. I'm ready. Let's go. Wait, Anna scolded. Katarina, I'm not settled yet. You mustn't yell go when someone's still moving about. I thought you were ready. You said everyone was waiting for me. Katarina unfolded the horsehair blanket and wrapped it around her legs. I decide when we leave. I'm the lady of the house, not you, Anna whispered sternly as she tucked her own blanket around her hips. She nodded at the Russian servant. Now we can go.